All right, it is week 6, and we are hot on the mountain, Steve. We're going to try to keep this train rolling. I do want to put up here real quick where we stand after 5 weeks. Phenomenal week last week, Steve. We went 6-0 on our locks. We believe it's the first time we've ever did a sweep. So a year and a half of doing, almost a year and a half of doing this. We don't think we've ever had a Big Mountain sweep. We've probably been close, like a 5-1 type of week. We're not sure we ever had a sweep. So if you bet us last week, you hit us at the right time because we swept at 6-0. Steve hit 4, I hit 2. So to go real quick over just our entire season so far through 5 weeks, Steve, you are 91% on straight picks. You don't hear us talk straight picks because we do the spreads, but we do, just saying who's going to win, who's going to lose. You're 91% with your Big Ten plus FSU. I'm 86% with my Mountain West and my Pac-2 schools, Pac-12, Pac-2 schools that I'm doing over this year. We're very close on our spread, Steve. You are 35-19 at 65%, and I am 35-20 at 64%. So Big Mountain here in total, we're right there around that 2/3 mark, which is great for anybody doing betting. But Steve, you're 80% on your locks this year.
Rock and rolling, and people, and for if you're new here, if you're new to the channel, our locks are what we are most confident in. We're gonna pick all the games. I'm picking all Big Ten games and Florida State games. You're picking all Mountain West, all Pac games. And we're going to pick every game, but our locks is where we're really confident.
Well, and you not only are you confident, but you're pretty damn good at it because you're 12-3. I'm 5-3, 63%. So for the total, for the Big Mountain, we're sitting at 89% on straight picks, 64% average on spread picks, and we are 74%. I'm bringing your 80 down a little bit because I'm not quite up there with you, but 74%, 17-6 on our Ice Cold Big Mountain. What is it? Big Mountain Ice Cold Lock.
Ice Cold Lock.
Can't even say I'm getting so damn excited. And I just want to say I agree here with the commenter. They want to see who you're going to pick between Nebraska and Rutgers. When I saw this on the schedule, I went, oh my goodness, Steve. These are two teams he's been high on, and I'm anxious to see what you have to say about
I gamed out the entire season this year, and that was the first game that really gave me some trouble.
Ooh, this one, I'm so excited for that one. But I know you're picking all of them. Yep. So I think you have 9 picks total. And we're going to start with the Big Ten, so go for it.
Yeah, and I'm going to tease it a little bit. I'm going to. Last week I had 4 locks, went 4-0.
Yes.
This week I again have 4 locks. I was only going to have 3. I added 1 to the last minute. So
you're getting back on that pony.
Getting back,
riding it to the bank.
Got 4 locks in the Big Ten. So
let's do it.
Starting first game, Michigan State traveling to Oregon. I'm going to go ahead and take Michigan State plus the 24.5. I think Oregon wins this game. I think Oregon wins it pretty easily. I just think the thing with Oregon, they have been really, with the exception of the Oregon State game, I think they have really kind of held back their offense this year. They're averaging one of the smallest yards per air attempt. Dylan Gabriel having a good season. He's running that offense. He's very accurate. But I mean, he's basically dinking and dunking down the field. So I think Oregon wins this game. I think they win easily. It's just too many points. Michigan State, they're showing some spunk. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Michigan State plus a 24.5. I'm sorry, JEH. Although this might have been the one that he was okay with if Michigan State won, but I think Oregon's still going to win, but Michigan State's going to keep it within that margin.
Okay. Very interesting.
Okay, so my next game, UCLA traveling across the country to Penn State. I'm going to go ahead and take Penn State to cover the 26.5. The line moved today from 27.5 to 26.5, so I'm taking them to cover that 26.5 points, and I'm making that my first Big Mountain Ice Cold Lock.
This was your audible.
This was my audible.
You went, you said, that's it, I'm going 4 again, and you added this guy last minute. You're feeling good about it. Why are you feeling good about it?
The line was 27.5. I was a little bit iffy. I was definitely going to take Penn State to cover. Here's the thing, JY. UCLA, like we've talked about, they're just not a good team this year. They're rebuilding. All of the areas where they have weaknesses are the areas where Penn State has strengths and they can exploit them.
Okay.
And we know Penn State did not cover against Illinois last week. Illinois was a little bit better team. Actually, I think a significantly better team than UCLA.
Oh, yeah.
Very balanced. They played some good defense. They were able to, that single high safety and mixing in some zone with some tight man coverage. They were able to kind of confuse Drew Aller and just take away those big plays. UCLA, the main weakness of their defense is their pass defense. I think that's going to be a big difference between the Illinois game and this UCLA game. Is I think Aller's going to get back on track. The Penn State passing offense is going to explode again. Coming into that Illinois game, the Penn State passing offense was leading, or the Penn State offense was leading the country in explosive plays.
Yeah.
Illinois did a great job of kind of slowing them down. Penn State was still able to exert their will and have drives, but the scoring was down a little bit because they had to have methodical drives. Plus, they missed a couple of field goals.
Right.
But this week, again, excuse me, that travel coming across the country, I think Penn State's a little bit pissed off. Their offense is a little pissed off. They didn't score as many points. When you look at the advanced stats of that Illinois game, they should have absolutely destroyed them on the scoreboard. I think they're going to come out. They're going to want to score as many points as possible. So I'm very comfortable taking Penn State to cover that 26.5.
Okay, so there's a first lock coming out this week. And I know you have some more. You said you have 4. So what next game, what do we got? Wisconsin and Purdue. Is this the stinker of the week for you?
Yeah, this is kind of a stinker, and I don't really trust both of these teams. So Purdue is at Wisconsin. Weirdly enough, I said I was going to pick against Purdue most of the season, but I'm going to take Purdue plus the 13.5 points, mainly because I don't trust either one of these offenses. Wisconsin did some things on the road against USC last week, and I totally get it, but I think that game took a lot out of them. It was a physical game. They end up just getting, the second half just falling apart completely. I still don't trust this Wisconsin offense. I don't really trust the Purdue offense either. They did fire their offensive coordinator. They brought in a new one. They're going to be trying some new things. I'm not taking Purdue because I like them so much or think they're going to perform well. It's more, I just don't think this Wisconsin offense is going to put up a lot of points. Purdue was able to kind of keep things close in the first half against Nebraska. And so I'm taking them plus the points, but I'm not locking this game. I don't love it. I don't even think I'm going to bet this game on my own money.
I wouldn't. I don't like either team. So, but we are committed to picking every Big Ten and Mountain West game, and that's what you're doing. All right, so next game.
Okay, so Indiana at Northwestern. We've been riding the Indiana train, and I'm going to go ahead and take Indiana to cover the 13.5, and I'm making that my second Big Mountain ice cold lock. There's no reason to get off of this Hoosier hype train. Their offense is totally clicking.
Absolutely.
Last week they started the game off. Rourke threw 2 interceptions, back-to-back interceptions. They had a fumble in the first half. That kind of slowed them down only in the first half, but they just kept coming. Rourke is a master of running this offense. Kurt Cignetti's offense, they are just cruising. They are firing on all cylinders. And they beat Maryland, I think, what was it, by 2 touchdowns at least?
Yeah, something like that.
They would have beat them by at least 4 touchdowns without those kind of fluky interceptions. And Rourke they didn't bother him at all. He got right back on track, had a fantastic game. Northwestern, they're just not a good team. They don't have a lot of talent. I know they were able to overachieve last year. They have great coaching. They lost some of the players from last year. I think they even have less talent this year. Now, they are playing in that revamped practice stadium or whatever that's right next to the water. And if there is some wind and some weather, that could affect the scoring. But honestly, I have not seen anything slow Indiana down this year. So I am so confident in them winning by 2 touchdowns. I'm loving that lock.
I am blown away that this is 13.5. I think it opened at 13.5 because we always check them on Sunday. Or is it Sunday or Monday? Sunday, late Sunday evening. Blown away that this game is 13. 2 touchdowns. I'm going heavy this, Steve. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm not the Big Ten guy, and I trust your locks. But even without your lock, I love this, and I'm not the Big Ten guy. This line blows me away. Completely blows me away. I'm totally hard with you. Northwestern is not going to score to keep up with Indiana. What the hell is Vegas thinking?
No idea.
This is. I'm not going to say it. I don't want to jinx you. I said that before. I got to be good, so I don't do anything stupid. I don't understand this line at all.
Yeah, I don't care, and I don't worry about luck on these things. I look at these.
No, you look at it for what it is.
For what it is, and yes, I love them beating Northwestern by more than 2 touchdowns. And JH makes a point. Purdue's not a good team. I totally agree. And as I said last week, I was going to keep picking against them. I think that Wisconsin wins that game, but I'm taking Purdue plus the points just because I think it'll be a low-scoring game.
And Anthony's right. Indiana lines have been low all year.
Because of no respect.
We've won a lot of money on them, and we're going to hopefully do it again this week. Let's keep them low all year, and we'll keep on the daggone Rourke and Signetti and Hoosier train all the way to the bank every week. And I love that they haven't figured his team out yet, and you knew it from the freaking before the season started.
I think in June, I was telling you they're going to be awesome this year.
Okay, we could talk about them for a while.
Yeah,
but we got more games to pick. We got more locks to make.
Okay, so Iowa at Ohio State. Ohio State is a 19.5-point favorite, and I'm taking Ohio State to cover that 19.5, and I'm making that my third Big Mountain ice cold lock. A lot of similarities, honestly, with this game and the UCLA Penn State game. A lot of the strengths of Ohio State, what they do really well. I think Iowa is going to have a difficult. They're going to have a real difficult time scoring points. They're going to have a difficult time stopping Ohio State. Their secondary is not nearly as good this year as it has been other years.
Right.
Really, the only thing that's been keeping Iowa going this year is they've been able to run the ball. Their running back, his name escapes me at this point, but he's been fantastic. He's been great. But honestly, Ohio State has the defensive line. They have the depth at defensive line to just keep rotating those guys in. 5-star future NFL players in the defensive line. I think they'll at least be able to slow the Iowa's running game. And Iowa has absolutely no passing game whatsoever. They've benefited from a pretty easy schedule so far. And Ohio State is firing on all cylinders. They have that freshman wide receiver who finally kind of had his breakout game this last week. Mm-hmm. Their running game is great. They've had some games this year where I think they just didn't fully put their foot on the gas. I think this game they will be ready against Iowa to put their foot on the gas and just absolutely maul them. They are better than Iowa at every single position. So I'm very confident in Ohio State to cover that 19.5. And I thought it would be like mid-20s.
Wow. Well, I will say while I was completely unsurprised by your Indiana lock, I am a little bit surprised by this lock because 19.5 against Iowa, still a good defense. I'm a little surprised, but who am I to judge a man that is 80% on his locks?
Iowa, to me, and I picked them to win a lot of games this year based on their schedule, and I still think they will. Okay. They are a major smoke and mirrors, the team this year, with that running game. They are so one-dimensional. Cade McNamara has still not come through and had any kind of good, successful quarterback play. And honestly, I don't think their defense is as good this year as it has been other years.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so the next game. This is what I know people were waiting for this one.
The one we've been waiting for.
So Rutgers at Nebraska. I really thought hard about this game. I am going to take Rutgers plus the 6.5 points. Okay. Now, Rutgers has scared me a little bit. They've gotten out to those leads. Monungai, one of the top running backs, most effective running backs in college football, and definitely in the Big Ten right now. Mm-hmm. And their recipe has been to basically kind of start fast, run the ball, get out to a lead, and then kind of slow the whole game down.
Yeah.
I think Nebraska wins this game. Okay. So if we're talking about straight bets, or straight picks, Nebraska wins this game, but I think Rutgers keeps this close using that formula.
Okay.
Part of it too is Raiola, he's had a good season. I've been following Rutgers, Schiano's kind of game plan for him, or what people think the game plan, and it sounds like they're going to throw a lot of zone at Raiola, which Illinois did, especially in the second half, really confused Dylan Raiola and got him to make some mistakes, miss some throws, all that. I think Rutgers is going to have success with that. I think Nebraska is the better team, and I think they're going to pull out a win, but I see this being like a field goal game, and I'd love to see Nebraska win by more than that. Honestly, I'd love to be wrong on this game. Yeah. But, when you saw what happened in that Illinois game, I just, Raiola is playing well. I just don't know if they are there yet on offense to be able to With Rutgers, you kind of just have to overwhelm them, and I think Rutgers is good enough where they can run the ball, play good defense, keep the possessions kind of minimal,
Okay.
less possessions for both teams, and keep it a low-scoring game.
Okay. All right. Well, this was the one I was most interested in seeing what you were going to do. And I actually thought you were going to go Nebraska just because of some of the question marks with Rutgers. But I get it being a close game. You know, in your mind, it's going to be a close game. So take the 6.5. It's a field goal or two field goal game. You win the bet. So I get it.
And I do. I think Nebraska wins, but I think it'll be a low-scoring.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm not locking it, as you noticed. So, okay. So my next game here, USC at Minnesota. I'm taking USC to cover the 8.5 points, and I'm making that my fourth Big Mountain ice cold lock. Honestly, I have no idea what they're thinking with this line. Minnesota is a bad team. Their secondary is bad, and Minnesota has not played anybody this year that can test their secondary whatsoever. What does USC do really, really well? You saw what they did against Wisconsin last week. We saw what they did against LSU, and that is Miller Moss hitting all of these awesome athletes they have in the perimeter. He's playing Heisman level football. Minnesota does not have a chance in hell of stopping their passing game. Yeah. This is going to be a high scoring game. I can't believe this line.
Probably one-sided high
scoring game. Minnesota, they might be able to score some points. I don't see it. And I think Minnesota is going to try to do the same thing Rutgers is going to try to do Nebraska.
Okay.
But I think that there's going to be such a greater talent differential between Mini and USC, especially at the skill positions. And I really think Minnesota's biggest weakness, if you look on paper so far this season, they've actually had some good stats, defensive stats against the passing game.
Okay.
But it's because they played nobody that can test their passing defense. When you look at it last year, they didn't bring anybody to really improve it. I think USC is going to be able to drive the ball at will, drive the field at will. And I like USC's defense. I mean, yes, they lost to Michigan. Michigan was able to kind of break a couple runs there.
Right.
But overall, USC's defense has looked good this year. I'm not going to judge their defense based on 2 or 3 broken tackles by a really, really good Michigan running back.
Right.
I like everything I see about USC. This line, I think, is ridiculous. USC, I would lock them probably all the way up to 13.5 points.
Yeah.
This.
I'm with you. Another one, Indiana and USC. Maybe we have to come up with something even bigger than a lock because these two lines, I totally agree with you. Man, you want to parlay some stuff?
Hey, that's
parlay
a good
these two games
USC
together.
and Indiana.
USC and Indiana. For those of you who like parlays, I think it's the first time I brought up parlays this year. I usually like to bring up some parlays. I'm a teaser kind of guy too, but they're sucker bets. They say
they are.
I just like to throw shit out there.
Parlays can be a little bit sucker bets too.
Yeah,
Vegas wants you to do some parlays, but
when you hit them, it feels darn good.
It feels really good.
All right.
Okay, so the next game and my last Big Ten game.
If I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Speaking of parlays, we had a couple people mention they hit some mighty big parlays because they parlayed all 6 of our locks last week, Steve.
Amazing.
Yeah, they parlayed them and they won.
You showed me a screenshot.
Yeah, I got a couple of them.
It's unbelievable.
I'm happy for it.
Yeah, I'm really happy for it.
I wish I would have done it.
And I've hit some parlays. I didn't go all 6. I'll parlay 2 or 3 of the locks usually each week.
Yeah.
So
anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You're on to who you on? Michigan.
Okay, so Michigan traveling to Washington. Michigan's been about what I thought they've been. Washington's actually been a little better than I thought. I struggled this game, but I am going to take Michigan plus the 2.5 points. I don't feel great about this game. I think it's a toss-up. The thing is Michigan has such a strong running game, but absolutely, they can't complete a forward pass. Washington, I think, has, again, they've surprised me. I think their defense has been a little bit better than I expected. I think Jed Fish has this team. So it really wouldn't surprise me if Washington actually did win. I have this just as a coin flip game. I'm going to go with Michigan. I'm not locking this game. I don't think I'm going to bet this game myself.
Okay.
But just for the sake of picking, I'm going to take the Michigan plus the 2.5. Really, honestly, with this game, because I think it's such a coin flip, I was going to take whoever was getting a couple points.
Wow, that surprises me. The line surprises me. Your picking Michigan doesn't surprise me, but the fact that you were going to take the points surprises me because Maybe, I don't know. I don't know that the Big Ten, but my goodness, it's Michigan playing Washington.
Yeah, but I mean, Michigan is just not what they were last year. They're a shell. They have such a good defense. They have such a good running game. So you think, okay, they're still Michigan, but my goodness, how do you win in modern college football with the status of their passing game? I mean, their passing game is utterly awful, utterly terrible.
Dave Portnoy was going to buy a quarterback for him.
Yeah, he needs to.
$3 million. I said, could I maybe get, this was before realizing Williams is even better than Sluka.
Yeah.
Could I get like 3% of that? Or could you send 3% of that to UNLV? And at this point, I'm like, I would have been money wasted because Williams is fantastic. I'll get to that game later. But anyway.
Imagine if Michigan would have got like Rourke this year. They would be a playoff team. Just a guy who can efficiently run that offense.
Right.
But Orgy is bad. I mean, really, really bad.
Well, apparently Spence, he's on here. He was one of the guys that parlayed the six locks, and he made himself some nice cashola.
Very nice.
So well done, Spence. Hey, if you're new to the channel, just let us know. We welcome you here. Thanks, and I'm glad you hit. I love. We're here to make. We want to win, but
make some money, baby.
It's actually more fun to see other people winning too.
Yep.
Yeah, we're take down Vegas one dweller at a time.
Let's do it. So I got one more pick.
Yes,
I'm picking every FSU game.
Damn FSU pick.
Yeah, so I think you might actually be happy about this
one.
So Clemson is traveling to FSU. I'm taking Clemson to cover the 14.5 points. And I actually thought about locking this, but just didn't. If it was under 14, I think I may have locked it. It was like a 12.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think I may have locked it. Clemson, since that loss to Georgia, the season opening loss to Georgia, Clemson has been fantastic.
Yes, they have.
They're getting better and better. DJU for Florida State is going to be out. He's out with a broken finger.
Okay.
I think his name is Brock, is the backup who's going to be starting. This is obviously Florida State's a huge disappointment. This year, this has turned into a rebuilding year.
Right.
And maybe Brock comes in and catches fire. And DJU, this year didn't work out for him. The situation didn't work out for him. But he's definitely not the only problem that Florida State has.
Okay.
So unless they totally catch fire, I feel great about Clemson covering this line. I think they're just they're at least a 2-touchdown better team this year. They're playing so much better. Florida State has not shown us anything that suggests that they can beat or even stay within a couple touchdowns of Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a team here that, like you said, after that first game, Clemson looks darn good, and FSU, they can't figure out who the hell they are. I mean, they're just treading water like crazy.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I was actually a little surprised, like you say, that this line was maybe as low as it was. I get the 13.5 possible lock on this. I mean, I think Clemson, they got their crap together, and I mean, this is Clemson FSU.
Absolutely.
They don't care if FSU's struggling. They want to pound these dudes into the ground.
And they can, I mean, Clemson has an opportunity to come out, make a statement here, because even though Florida State is disappointed this year, that would be a big statement. It would grab national attention if they can blow Florida State out. Yeah. Especially. JEH is in the chat talking about DJU. So JEH, how are you feeling about DJU this year and his journey down to Tallahassee and how it's worked out?
Yeah,
he can put that in the chat.
He can put that in the chat.
We'll see what's up.
Well, we're getting a little thank yous from peeps. We got Shorts, we got Phil, Chris is on with our run. Keep up the good work. We are trying to keep up the good work. Steve just ended his Big Ten games with 4 locks.
Yeah. So one more thing I want to note, because Shorts says Michigan messed up his parlay. That's another reason why. I think the line is so small. You were. The way that actually Minnesota came back on them was a little crazy, and I think that's why the line is where it is.
So you don't think it's Minnesota maybe being better. No. You think it's Michigan maybe being worse, even though they beat USC.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Just because they're so one-dimensional on offense. I mean, it's just so hard to win by any substantial amount of points in modern college football when you cannot complete a forward pass.
I understand. Yeah, it's very difficult. So Spence brings up the fact that FSU was very bad versus SMU. Am I allowed to say it, Steve?
Yeah.
That you picked FSU and I picked SMU.
Did.
I did make it clear that it was not an official pick.
Yeah.
But I would have gone with SMU in that case. But it is what it is. I just would have no trust. If I'm you, because I know you're the one picking FSU, I would never pick them the rest of the season.
Look,
I don't care what happens.
I stake my reputation on my Big Ten picks.
I understand.
Florida State, it just is what it is.
Okay.
Whatever.
All right. And actually, if I went back to your spreads and I took out the FSU picks, your numbers would be even better. Not your locks, because you haven't locked them yet. But your spread picks would be even better because they did not treat you well to start the season.
Did not.
All right, well, are we ready for the Mountain West?
Yeah.
I'm going to start with the big one because it's a Friday night. I am anxious for my Friday night game here. Syracuse at UNLV. The line is 6.5, and I am taking the Rebels. This line has moved a lot. I believe you said, was it 2 a.m. on Sunday morning? It was 2.5 or something like that. Are you making noises, Steve?
Sorry, here. I need a cough drop.
That's okay. What was I saying? Oh, you said the line started at 2.5. I got up and saw it was at 3.5, and then moved to 4.5. And then just before today, because I always check our lines before I try to get our stuff as accurate as possible for our mountain dwellers. It's at 6.5, but I'm still taking UNLV. I like them at the touchdown.
This is what a degenerate gambler I have become.
There's nothing degenerate about it.
I got home 2 o'clock in the morning, Saturday night, well, really Sunday morning after the whiteout, and I'm sitting awake looking at FanDuel, grabbing those awesome early lines. Right. So we always tell you guys about Saturday night, Sunday morning, you get some awesome early lines, and I grabbed the 2.5. 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's great value, 2.5, because it's up to 6.5. I'm glad I'm at least able to give it out right now under the touchdown, because I wouldn't be surprised over the next 24 hours this sucker goes up to 7.5. That would not surprise me. A lot of money coming in on the Rebels, and excuse me, I want to talk about this a little bit because obviously we all know about Syracuse's offense.
Yeah,
with the transfer of McCord. I might need a sucker too. Hold on. If I just give it a good hard one, I'll be all right.
Okay.
Turn your head and cough, JY. Turn your head and cough. But anyway, we all know about the Syracuse offense here and McCord and everything that he's been doing, and he is super duper dangerous. But I kind of did some comparisons here. Obviously they've had some good wins. I looked at their stats against Stanford. I looked at their stats against Georgia Tech. Right there, it was 359 yards for Stanford versus the Syracuse D, and Georgia Tech had 439. They both scored, one was 26 and 28 points. The UNLV offense, in my opinion, is better than those two offenses and will score more points than those two offenses. I think UNLV is well into the 30s in this game. The question will be, can the defense of the Rebels stop McCord? Same question we talked about with the Fresno versus UNLV game, and I'm going to say, especially after that Fresno game, I am very confident that the Rebels D will cause havoc on McCord and that passing game. He will not have an easy game of it, and I think that the UNLV defense continues to roll here. I think they're going to get to McCord. They're going to throw him off his game, and when you do that, it doesn't matter how good of a quarterback you are, you can't throw the ball because you're worried about getting whacked. And that's what I think is going to happen again. We saw it against Fresno. I think you're going to see it again on Friday against Syracuse.
UNLV is a complete team and Syracuse is not. I mean, that's the big difference between them, in my opinion. And honestly, I think they're similar talent levels. It's just UNLV is so complete on both offense and defense, whereas Syracuse is really, it's offense, it's McCord, it's those players they were able to bring in. And I think McCord will hit some passes.
Oh, yeah, he will.
He'll make plays. I saw one drive in the Fresno game, and Mikey Keene hit a couple passes. But eventually, I agree with you. I think what's going to happen is you'll hit a few passes here and there, but when that defense just keeps coming after you, they have the great combination of what you want in a defense: a pass rush with a ball hawking corner in a secondary who can make interceptions and make plays. And when you rattle the quarterback, you hit him. He starts making bad decisions. He starts rushing his decisions. And I think the UNLV defense will be able to do that to Kyle McCord. But I mean, I'm impressed with Kyle this year.
Oh yeah,
he's done a great job there.
Great.
And I think he will throw for some yards. He will hit some passes. But it's not going to be enough because UNLV is just a more complete team.
Yep, and so I am actually going to pick the score of this game.
Okay.
We did it last week. Well, actually, I didn't do it. Our special guest picked the score. I'm going to throw a score out. I got this 34-24 Rebels.
Okay.
That's my score pick, 34-24 Rebels.
I'm going to say I don't think it'll be that close.
You think it's going to be even bigger?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Steve thinks it's more than a 10-point spread there. So, all right, let's get to the next one. Oh, Steve, you're going to love this one.
Okay.
Air Force versus Navy.
Oh boy.
And for everyone that doesn't know, Steve is a retired Navy veteran.
Yes.
You were a shipman. What do you call it?
I retired as a chief in the Navy.
A chief.
After 22 years, yeah.
I'm sorry, Steve.
No,
I should remember that.
I think what you're thinking of seaman.
No, I wasn't. I didn't want to go there at night.
Well, everybody who joins, when you first join and you go to boot camp, you're a seaman recruit.
Okay. I wasn't going to say that.
Okay.
But you are a chief in the Navy.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service. And because of that, Steve, no, that's not the reason why.
Okay.
I am picking Navy at -9.5. I'm surprised this is this close.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised this is this close, Steve. I'm making this my first Big Mountain Ice Cold lock.
Boom.
And you may say, JY, this is a service academy game. Anything can happen, and anything usually does happen.
Yep.
You should never be locking a service academy game. But I say to that, Air Force has no offense, and Navy has been smoking people this year. They're gonna score points. And I get it. It's at Air Force. I get it's a service academy game. Oh man, Air Force is gonna struggle to keep up here with Navy. And I mean, the Pokes scored 31 points on these guys, and nothing to knock the Pokes. They haven't had a great offense this year.
Air Force had a great season last year, and they've had a great run with that coach. But unfortunately, this year they may be one of the bottom 10 FBS teams in the country.
Yeah.
And Navy has played fantastic. I think they just smoked Memphis a couple weeks ago. So I like your pick.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's 9.5.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Navy has an awesome dual threat. This kid is Horvath.
Yeah.
Really, really strong dual threat. He's 69% passing, 7 touchdowns. But of course, they like to run them the ball like all freaking service academies do. 47 rushes for 450 yards and 8 touchdowns. The defense here for Navy has 8 turnovers on the season. We all know they beat Memphis here. Was it 2 weeks ago? 56-44. 56-44. What are we doing? This isn't going to be close. Lock Navy.
Go Navy, beat Air Force.
And Clint says he just got back from football practice. Welcome, sir. And he says Oktoberfest with you, JY. Prost and Oktoberfest.
Awesome.
Let me fill it back up. Hold on, I got a little bit. I got to keep it in my glass. Sorry, I'll keep going. All right, the next one here. Boop, boop, boop. The next one here we got Colorado State versus JEH's Oregon State, -11.5.
The Beavs.
And I'm taking the Beavs at -11.5. The Rams don't have any offense. I've been saying this all season. They do not have any offense. Oregon State is better on both sides of the ball. They are 100% better on both sides of the ball. And because of that, Steve, I'm going 2 in a row. Big Mountain, ice cold lock. 11.5. I mean, this is a 14 to 21 point spread to me. 2 to 3 touchdowns. I've got a nice gap of a field goal here ish to give up to make this my lock. I think Oregon State rolls here. I don't see CSU being able to hold up. I mean, one of the best quarterbacks in the Mountain West, Fowler Nicolasi, has shown nothing here over the course of this season. If anything, this offense has taken a step back from last year, which is a head scratcher, and they don't have much of a defense. So, yeah, we got to go Oregon State, and I got to go lock because they're coming off a bye. They're ready to rock and roll. So let's go Beavs.
I love the fact that you're locking the Beavs. They're a good, solid team. They run the ball well. They have a good defense. Obviously, we saw they're not at that talent level with Oregon. Close your ears, JEH. But they're going to win a lot of games this year. They're a good, solid team. And CSU this year is just extremely flawed. I don't know what they do well. Last year, you could at least say they're going to throw the ball and they're going to score a lot of points.
Yes.
Well, they're not doing anything well this year, so I love the lock.
I mean, they were blown out by Colorado.
Yeah.
And Colorado doesn't have very good defense.
Right.
I mean, how is this an 11.5 point spread? So, had to lock it. Had to lock it. All right. Next one. Utah State, the Aggies versus Boise State. 26.5 is the spread. I, of course, have to take the Broncos here. They are a scoring machine. Heisman Genty just going off. This Aggies defense ain't stopping much of anything in this game. I was close to locking this game, Steve. I'll be honest. Yeah. I was close to locking this game. I'm not going to do it. 26.5, you're getting up there a little bit, but this isn't going to be a close game. I mean, the Broncos are going to roll here. So, yes, I know my first, what is it, 1, 2, 4 picks have all been the faves. But that's where you go. When you get in the good lines, you got to go with the faves. And so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, Boise is a very complete team. I mean, they look like they're, Boise and UNLV just look like they are on a collision course. Obviously, the two best teams in the Mountain West, and maybe the two best G5 teams in the country.
Yeah.
Both of them look great. Genty, to me, is the best overall running back I've seen since Saquon Barkley as a Penn State fan. He reminds me a lot of him. Just so explosive, just so hard to contain. They're not going to be able to contain him. And Boise, just even without him, they're just a good, solid team.
They are.
So I love the pick.
And the defense, honestly, doing better than I thought they would because they're able to get pressure on the quarterback.
Yes.
I think if they play some teams, UNLV's lines are fantastic. Both sides of the ball. We brought up what Ricky White said about the O-line and, hey, Circa dude, instead of giving the money to Sluka, give it to the offensive line. That'll be the telltale sign of that game when we get to that here in a few weeks. Whose line is going to dominate? And I'll tell you where I stand right now. I think UNLV's line beats the Boise lines. Although Boise's got a great offensive line for Genty to run through. But anyway, we're picking this game. I'm taking the Broncos. So the next one, an interesting game here. Nevada versus San Jose State. Teams that I had towards the bottom of my preseason ranking, but both teams doing better than I had expected overall. And San Jose State really going off. So I got to take the Spartans here at -6.5. They're coming off a bye. This offense is really, really good. And Nevada has looked really good. I just don't think they have the offense to keep up with this San Jose State offense whatsoever. So I'm going to take, at San Jose State to win by a touchdown, I think is a very safe pick here with the offense that they have. Emmett Brown has looked really, really good there for San Jose State. We saw what he did against the Cougs, although I will say the Cougs defense is not very good. But be that as it may, I think San Jose State is very well the safe pick here. So now I'm 5 in a row. I'm 5 in a row taking the faves, but you got to do it. When you're under this touchdown with a fave that I think, especially when these teams, San Jose State specifically, has such a great offense, I'll take the 6.5 all day.
For me, it's been a surprise. Both teams have been a pleasant surprise this year, their offense. But even more so with San Jose State, that Nash and Gash offense, just fantastic. I think Nevada has a hard time stopping that.
So Josh Azani says, not looking good for the Aggies, but he'll be rooting for them. Well, he's an Aggies fan. Yeah. He should root for them. But yes, a little bit of a struggle. They're struggling a bit more than I thought they would at this point in the season. And our buddy Joey, who was giving me a hard time about San Jose, I shouldn't say giving me a hard time. He was trying to open my eyes to San Jose State early on, and he noticed that I have turned. He's on here tonight, so I got to give a shout out to Joey because he's been nice enough. He's been nice enough, but he's been like, JY, you're wrong. And I'll admit it, I was wrong. Well, this offense is freaking awesome.
He says your transition to Sparta is complete.
Yes.
I don't know if it's complete yet because we'll see. I don't know their schedule. Yeah. So if they start playing teams like Boise and like UNLV, you may see some picks that are a little different.
We got a couple Spartans here, Joey. We got Phil say, go Spartans. Good pick. I think it's a very safe pick. I like this pick a lot. Another one I contemplated locking. I didn't want to go off and lock all my freaking picks. Right. But I really like this pick. And David says UTEP for the win. We're going to get here. Let me get one more pick, and then we're going to get into some Mountain West goodies with additions and all that kind of stuff here shortly. So the last one, San Diego State versus Hawaii. I was surprised by this line. Hawaii is getting the 2.5 points, and I'm going to take the points. So my first underdog that I'm taking points on are the Rainbow Warriors. San Diego State just struggling. I mean, I called it a rebuild a couple weeks ago, and a couple people on X were like, "Oh, don't name them yet. We're not sure if it's a rebuild." It's a rebuild. That's not a knock. It's just it is what it is. And Hawaii here, I mentioned they let me down versus Sam Houston. Was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? But my goodness, Sam Houston beating freaking Texas State here last week, and they're looking like a serious contender for that conference in Conference USA, and they look fantastic. So, I mean, they rolled, I think Hawaii, it was 31-14 or something like that, and they just beat an upstart Texas State team that some people thought had a chance to win the conference there. And, so, I was questioning the Hawaii game there. They looked great. in their last game, and okay, it was Northern Iowa. Okay, fine. Shager looked fantastic in the first half. So I got to take the points here with the Rainbow Warriors. And I just have no confidence in San Diego State. I mean, they blew a lead last week. They're winning at the half. They get skunked in the second half. That can't happen if you want to win a game.
Still just a rebuilding year for San Diego State, which we said from the very beginning. It is what it is. However, I will never trust the Jekyll and Hyde Hawaii Rainbows.
I know.
So I won't be betting that game.
I'm going to bet it because I like it. I like that they're getting points, honestly. And, you know, people can call me a Aztec hater, but it is what it is. So anyway, that's where we're at. Hopefully you guys appreciate our picks. As we said, we went 6-0 on locks. We have another 6 this week. I think that was lightning
let's do it
in
again.
well, let's do it again. I was going to say I think that was lightning in a bottle, but you're confident
Let's
about
do it again.
Let's rock and roll, baby. Parlay that up just like some people were doing. So anyway, hey, and while we're at it, make sure you're giving this one a like. I know we always forget to say that, but make sure you give this one a like.